people that drove this green-colored pickup truck that had been reported in the area. And he said that they had such a list and began to read to me some names off the list.
Michael Jenkins, Darrell J. Wilson.
What was that name?
And when we got to the name Darrell J. Wilson, I said, we need to find out more about this guy. He interests me. There's something wrong here.
Darrell Wilson became a suspect when an individual contacted us and told us that he owned a lime green pickup, which was painted a root beer brown approximately 8 days after Sherry Irely disappeared. In addition, this individual told us that Darrell Wilson also knew Sherry Irely, had an acquaintance of her, and that he also knew another young girl that had disappeared from the Salem area about the same time.
John Ketchings asked Sergeant Hingston to take him to Darrell Wilson's home.
It was the house that I saw in my vision back in Dallas.
That's the house. That's the house that I saw.
And Detective Hingston said, well, he doesn't live in the house. He lives behind the house in an apartment. So we drove around the block and down the alley in the back of the house, and I saw a carport, and it was supported by these white pillars and posts, and I knew that was what I'd seen superimposed on my vision in Dallas, and that made me even stronger that we were looking at the right guy. Standing the other side of those pillars and posts was Darrell J. Wilson.
Fine, how are you? Good. Listen, I just thought I'd drop by, talk to you a little bit more, and see if you hadn't changed your mind about taking that polygraph.
And Darrell said, no, I don't believe in polygraphs, so I won't take a polygraph. But then he said a very strange thing. He said, but I would talk to a psychic. Detective Hingston had kind of a shocked look on his face, and he said, well, let me introduce you to one.
John Ketchings.
And I shook Darrell's hand, and it was cold and clammy and limp, and I knew that he knew that I knew that he was responsible for this.
2 hours later, Sergeant Hingston and John Ketchings received an emergency radio call to report back to Darrell Wilson's home. The suspect had taken his own life.
My first reaction was anger because he didn't leave us any note that would tell us where we might locate Sherry Irely's body. I'm 98% confident that Darrell Wilson was involved with Sherry Irely's disappearance. I also feel very confident that there were at least one other individual involved with Darrell in Sherry's disappearance.
There are no guarantees in psychic phenomena. There are no absolutes. I'm not God, I can't walk on water, and I'm not always right. But from a psychic perspective, as sure as I can be, Darrell Wilson was involved in this girl's death.
I can't say that I'm a believer or a non-believer. Unfortunately, in this case, the main thing we wanted to do is to find out what happened to her and to find her remains. I know in my own heart that she's gone and nothing's going to ever bring her back. So if we could just find the body, then we could at least bury her and we could go on.
Authorities are confident that Darrell Wilson was involved in the disappearance of Sherry Irely, but are convinced that he did not act alone. If you have any information regarding this case, please contact the Marion County, Oregon Sheriff's Department